My son handed me a mop at Thanksgiving dinner and told me to stop faking. 20 years of widowhood, raising him alone, sacrificing everything, and there I stood, trembling hands, barely able to grip the handle, while his wife smirked from the dining room. By the time I left that house, I'd made a decision that would cost him everything he thought he owned. If you're watching this, subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. Let me back up to show you how I ended up here. Brandon called Thursday morning. "Mom, we're doing Thanksgiving at our place. Can you come early? Maybe 10? Chelsea needs help with prep. Help with prep, not come celebrate. Help with prep. I should have said no, but I'm 68. I've had fibromyalgia for 3 years, and my son was inviting me to spend the holiday with him. Even if it meant peeling potatoes, I'd take it. Of course, sweetheart, I'll be there. Great, and Mom, dress comfortable. For kitchen work. I baked a pumpkin pie that morning, my mother's recipe. My hands cramped rolling out the crust, but I pushed through. I arrived at 10 sharp. Chelsea opened the door wearing a spotless white apron over designer jeans. She took the pie without looking at it. "Diane, come in. We have so much to do." "Brandon's outside with the turkey and I'm swamped. You don't mind jumping right in?" She thrust a stained apron at me, not the white one she wore, a ratty thing from a donation bin. The kitchen was chaos, pots everywhere, vegetables scattered, flour on the floor. Chelsea handed me a peeler and pointed to 3 bags of potatoes. 20 pounds. "I'm making mashed, gratin and roasted. After that, carrots need chopping, green beans need trimming." "Chelsea, that'll take hours, which is why we need to start. I can't do everything myself." "Maybe I could say hello to Mason and Lily first. I haven't seen them in weeks. They're upstairs. We'll visit after dinner. Right now, priority is this meal. Family helps family." I understood my role, free labor. For 3 hours I worked, peeling until my hands cramped. The fibromyalgia made them stiff. Today they felt like claws. Chelsea kept appearing with new tasks. "The floor needs sweeping. The counters need wiping. Set the table. Use the good china. Wash it first." My back screamed. My joints felt like broken glass. Brandon came in around noon, saw me scrubbing his grandmother's china with shaking hands, and smiled. "Thanks for helping, Mom. Chelsea really appreciates it." That's when I realized he thought this was normal. By 2 o'clock, when guests started arriving, Chelsea's parents, her sister's family, friends, I was running on fumes. But there were coats to take. "Diane, grab everyone's coats. Hang them neatly." Dinner was served at 3. 22 people at Brandon's table. Chelsea pointed to a folding chair squeezed at the far end. "We saved you a spot." The meal was beautiful, all the food I'd helped prepare. Chelsea's mother complimented every dish. "Chelsea, gorgeous. You've outdone yourself." Chelsea beamed. "So much work, but I managed." She managed, alone. I ate in silence. Mason and Lily were too far away to talk to. After dinner, I started clearing plates. Chelsea appeared. "You missed spills in the kitchen. The floor's sticky. Take care of that." I looked at her perfect makeup, clean clothes, manicured nails, then at myself, covered in stains, trembling. "Chelsea, I've been working since 10. I'm tired. We're all tired. Everyone pitches in." I headed to the kitchen. Brandon found me 15 minutes later, trying to mop with hands that could barely hold the handle. He stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "Mom, can we talk?" "Of course." "Chelsea says you've been complaining all day. About the work, being tired, your pain." "Brandon, I haven't complained once." "Honestly, Mom, it's getting old. This whole sick act. You've been playing this fibromyalgia card for 3 years. Chelsea and I think you're milking it." "Milking it? Brandon, fibromyalgia is real. Stop it." He shoved the mop at me. His eyes were disgusted. "Stop faking. You baked a pie last night and worked all morning. You're fine. Finish the floor. Chelsea's parents are leaving soon." He walked away. I stood there, hands shaking so badly I could barely grip the mop. Laughter from the dining room. Someone clinked a glass. I realized I was done. I set down the mop, took off the apron, walked through the dining room without saying goodbye, grabbed my coat and left. My hands shook as I drove home, but it wasn't just fibromyalgia, it was rage. 20 years ago, when my husband died and left me with grief and a teenage son, I'd made Brandon a promise. Every opportunity, every advantage, everything he needed. I'd kept that promise, even when it cost me everything. Now it was time for Brandon to remember what his mother had given him and what I could take away. Before this story goes further, you need to understand something. I'm not vengeful. I'm a 68-year-old widow who raised a son alone after losing her husband to a heart attack when I was 48. I worked 2 jobs, sacrificed everything, poured every ounce of strength into making sure Brandon had a future. So when I tell you what happened next, no, I didn't do it from spite. I did it from survival. Chelsea entered our lives 15 years ago. 24, beautiful, charming, exactly the kind of woman who could make a 28-year-old man forget to think straight. Brandon met her at a real estate conference. 6 months later, they were engaged. I tried to like her. She said all the right things, smiled at the right moments, laughed at Brandon's jokes. But there was something in her eyes, something calculating, that made me uneasy. "Mom, you're being paranoid," Brandon said when I expressed concerns. "Chelsea's amazing, supportive, ambitious, and she loves me. What more could I want?" So I kept quiet. They got married in a beautiful ceremony that cost more than my car. I watched and hoped I was wrong about her. For a few years, things seemed fine. Brandon worked in real estate, Chelsea in marketing. They bought a small condo. They seemed happy. Then, 10 years ago, everything changed. Brandon came to me on a Tuesday afternoon. We sat at my kitchen table, the same table where he'd done homework as a kid. Mom, Chelsea and I found our dream house, 4 bedrooms, big yard, amazing school district. We could start a family there. That's wonderful. There's one problem. We're short on the down payment, about $120,000. I was hoping. Maybe you could help, just a loan. We'd pay you back with interest, I promise. $120,000, almost everything I had. 20 years of careful budgeting, saying no to vacations, working extra hours when my body screamed for rest. It was my security, my future, my safety net. But it was my son. Let me think about it. That night, Chelsea called. "Diane, we wouldn't ask if we weren't desperate. This house is our future. Brandon's worked so hard. He deserves this." Brandon's worked so hard. Not they'd worked hard, just Brandon. I went to my lawyer, Sandra Wilson. If I loan someone money, a lot of money, how do I protect myself? Formal loan agreement, in writing, notarized with clear terms, and if it's family, be even more careful. Family loans go wrong constantly. I took her advice. I drew up an agreement, $120,000, repaid over 10 years at 3% interest. The house would serve as collateral. Brandon and Chelsea signed without hesitation. Brandon hugged me. "Thank you, Mom. This means everything. We'll start payments in 6 months. I promise you won't regret this." But I never saw a single payment. The first year, Brandon's excuses were reasonable. The house needed repairs, the roof, the foundation. "We're stretched thin. Can we postpone for 6 months?" I said yes. The second year, "Chelsea's pregnant. We're saving for the baby. Just another year." I said yes. Mason was born. The third year, "The business is struggling. The market's tough. Another year?" Yes. By the 5th year, Brandon stopped asking. He just stopped mentioning it. And I let it go, because I loved my son, because I wanted to believe he was struggling, because family doesn't push family. By the 8th year, I developed fibromyalgia. The pain was constant, exhausting. I had to quit my job. My savings dwindled. I lived off Social Security. I never asked Brandon for the money back, even when I could barely afford medications, even when my car died, because he was my son, and you don't pressure your son. But that was the old Diane, the Diane before Thanksgiving, before the mop. After I left Brandon's house that evening, I went straight to my file cabinet and dug out that loan agreement. I read every word. Then I called Rachel Greenwald, a real estate attorney who specialized in debt collection. Rachel, I have a signed, notarized loan agreement for $120,000. The borrower hasn't made a single payment in 10 years. What are my options? Diane, is this your son? Yes. Are you sure you want to do this? I thought about Brandon's face when he'd handed me that mop, about Chelsea's smirk, about being told my illness was fake. I'm absolutely sure. Then let's schedule a meeting. We need to discuss demand letters and potential foreclosure proceedings. Foreclosure? If the house is listed as collateral and he's defaulted, you have legal right to that property. The house your money bought? It's technically yours. I smiled for the first time since Thanksgiving. Oh, Brandon, you forgot who paid for that dream house. You forgot who sacrificed everything. You forgot that your mother wasn't just a sick old woman you could dismiss with a mop. Your mother was the woman who owned your house, and I was about to remind you. Monday after Thanksgiving, I sat in Rachel Greenwald's downtown office. She was in her mid-40s, sharp as a knife, with dark hair pulled back and glasses that made her look like she could see through lies. She finished reading my loan agreement. This is airtight, signed, notarized, clear terms, and he hasn't paid anything in 10 years. Not $1. With missed payments plus interest, Brandon owes you approximately $156,000. The number hit me hard. 156,000. What's my first step? Rachel pulled out a legal pad. We send a formal demand letter. Official notice that he's in default and has 30 days to pay the full amount or arrange a payment plan. After 30 days, if he doesn't respond, we file for foreclosure. And if he does respond, we negotiate. But Diane, you need to prepare for how he might react. He'll likely claim you're being cruel, that family shouldn't do this. He might try to guilt you. Are you prepared? I thought about the mop, about Chelsea's voice, about Brandon saying, "Stop faking, Mom. Let him try." Rachel drafted the demand letter. It was formal, cold, legal. When do we send it? Tomorrow morning via certified mail. He'll have to sign for it. That night, I barely slept. Part of me felt sick. This was my son. Was I really going to threaten his home over money? But then I remembered Chelsea's words I'd overheard on Thanksgiving. I can't wait until we finally convince Brandon to put his mom in a home. Another few months, and I think he'll agree. Tuesday morning, Rachel called. Letter's been delivered. Brandon signed for it at 9:43. The call came 3 hours later. Brandon, "Mom, what the hell is this? You're threatening to take our house?" "I'm enforcing a legal agreement you signed and ignored for 10 years. That was a gift. You gave me that money. I loaned you that money. We signed a contract. You never asked for it back. I shouldn't have to ask. You signed a repayment agreement." Silence. Then, "Mom, you can't be serious. Chelsea and I have kids. You'd really throw us out?" "You threw me out with a mop, Brandon." More silence. "What? On Thanksgiving, you handed me a mop and told me to stop faking my illness. You treated me like the help. You let your wife talk about putting me in a nursing home. Did you think I didn't hear that?" "Mom, Chelsea was just stressed. She was planning to get rid of me, and you were going to let her. That's not fair. What's not fair is borrowing $120,000 from your widowed mother and never paying back a cent. You have 30 days, Brandon. Pay what you owe, or we move to foreclosure." "Mom." I hung up. 20 minutes later, Chelsea called. "Diane, obviously there's been a misunderstanding." "No misunderstanding. Your husband owes me money. That was a gift. Mothers help their children, and children honor their mothers. Funny how that works. You're being vindictive because of Thanksgiving. I'm being practical. I'm nearly 70. living on social security with a chronic illness, and I gave away my life savings to someone who forgot it existed. Brandon's going through a hard time, so am I. You have 30 days. After that, I'm taking the house my money bought. You vindictive old woman. I hung up, then blocked both their numbers. For the first time in 3 years, I could breathe, because I'd remembered something crucial. When I loaned Brandon that money, we'd listed the property as collateral. That meant there was a lien on the house. Brandon couldn't refinance or borrow against it without satisfying my claim first. He was trapped, and he didn't know it yet. I sipped my tea and waited, because Brandon was about to discover something else. Something that would change everything. 3 days after the demand letter, Joyce Warren showed up with coffee and cinnamon rolls. Joyce has been my best friend for 30 years. "Diane, open up. I know you're avoiding my calls." We sat at my kitchen table. I told her everything. Thanksgiving, the mop, Chelsea's nursing home comments, the loan. The demand letter. Joyce's expression went from sympathetic to furious. "That little bastard handed you a mop? Joyce. No, you don't defend him. I've watched you sacrifice everything for that boy. You're doing the right thing." My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. A photo. Brandon's house with a for sale sign. Below, "Catch us first." Joyce looked at the screen. "They're trying to sell the house?" I called Rachel immediately. "They're trying to sell." "That's illegal. The house has a lien. They can't sell without your permission or paying the debt first. Any title search will show the lien." Rachel paused. "This tells me they're panicking. Me. And panicking people make mistakes. So I just wait. You wait and document everything." That night, Mason called. "Grandma, can I talk to you?" "Of course, sweetheart." "I heard Mom and Dad fighting. Really bad fighting. Dad's saying something about money and lawyers, and Mom's saying something about a nursing home." "Grandma, are they going to make you move?" My heart broke. "Mason, I'm not going anywhere I don't want to go. Your parents and I are having a disagreement about money, adult stuff. But I love you and Lily more than anything. That will never change." "Grandma, I heard Mom on the phone. She said you're getting old and can't take care of yourself." "Is that true?" Rage flooded through me. "Mason, I'm perfectly capable of taking care of myself. Your mother is lying." "I thought so. You seem fine to me." He hesitated. "Grandma, Mom's been acting weird. She's gone a lot, always on her phone texting someone, and when Dad asks about money, she gets really defensive." Little things that added up. "Mason, if you notice anything else, you call me, okay?" "Okay. I love you, Grandma." The next morning, I called Dennis Cooper, a private investigator I'd known since he was a kid. "Mrs. Patterson, what's going on?" "I think my daughter-in-law is up to something. I need to know what before it's too late." "Once you know, you can't unknow it. I'm sure. What am I looking for? Anything that explains why she's so desperate. Follow her for a week. See where she goes, who she meets. For you, no charge." 3 days later, Dennis called. "Mrs. Patterson, sit down." I sat. "Your daughter-in-law has been meeting a man. Same guy 3 times this week. At a hotel. Very cozy. I got photos." My stomach dropped. "Chelsea's having an affair." "Yes. And there's more. I ran his plates. Richard Caldwell. He's a contractor. Owns a construction company. He's been awarded several contracts from Brandon's business over the past 2 years." The pieces clicked together. Dennis emailed the photos. Chelsea and Richard at a hotel, kissing by his Mercedes. Undeniable. I stared at them for a long time. Part of me felt vindicated. I'd been right about her all along. But another part felt something else. Opportunity. If Chelsea was having an affair, she had everything to lose. I forwarded the photos to Rachel. "How does this change things?" Rachel called back immediately. "This changes everything. If Chelsea's having an affair and planning to leave Brandon, she might be trying to hide assets and disappear with money. This is potential fraud. What do? We show Brandon exactly who he married. Then we give him a choice. Help us protect his assets or lose everything to her. I thought about Mason and Lily. They didn't deserve to lose their home because of their mother's betrayal. Set up a meeting, all of us. It's time Brandon knew the truth. Because the war wasn't just between me and Brandon anymore. It was all of us against Chelsea. The meeting was Friday at 2. Brandon agreed to come, probably thinking he could still talk me out of this. I arrived early. Rachel had everything ready: loan documents, payment records, demand letter, and most importantly, a manila folder with Dennis's photos. Brandon walked in at exactly 2. He looked terrible. Dark circles, wrinkled shirt, uncombed hair, a man barely holding together. "Mom." He nodded without meeting my eyes. "Sit down, Brandon." Rachel was direct. "Brandon, your mother loaned you $120,000. You haven't paid anything back. Mrs. Patterson has the legal right to foreclose. Do you understand?" "Yes, but that's why I'm here, to work something out." "Speaking of Chelsea," Rachel interrupted, sliding a folder toward him, "let's talk about your wife." Brandon opened it. I watched his face as he saw the photos. Confusion, recognition, heartbreak. His hands shook as he flipped through them. Chelsea and Richard, the hotel, the kiss. "Who is he?" "Richard Caldwell, owns Caldwell Construction. Your company has given his business multiple contracts." Rachel's tone was clinical. "Your wife has been meeting him regularly." Brandon flipped through again. "Oh, God." "Chelsea told you she was pregnant, correct?" He looked up, eyes red. "Yes, 6 weeks ago. She said to wait until the 2nd trimester. Understanding flooded his face. "There's no baby. Has she shown you proof?" "No. She said she wanted to wait." His voice broke. "She's been lying about everything." Rachel slid another folder. "There's more. Significant withdrawals from your accounts. Over $62,000 in credit card debt on cards you rarely use." Brandon stared at the papers. "Chelsea handles our finances. She said she was managing everything. $62,000 on household expenses?" Rachel's tone made it clear how absurd that sounded. Brandon's hands clenched. "I don't know where it went." "She always said everything was fine." He looked at me. "Mom, I'm such an idiot. How did I not see this?" "She's good at what she does. She's been manipulating you for years." Rachel added, "The house sale attempt? Chelsea's idea. She's trying to liquidate assets before you discover her fraud and affair." Brandon nodded miserably. "She said we needed a fresh start, but now I see it. She's planning to leave with him. Do you want to save your marriage?" He stared at the photos. "I don't think there's anything left to save. How do you forgive lies about pregnancy, an affair, stealing money, planning to abandon your children? Then protect yourself. File for divorce before she does. Freeze joint accounts. Get a forensic accountant. Secure custody. And work with your mother to resolve the loan." Brandon looked at me. "Would you consider working with me? After everything I said?" I thought about everything. The mop, Chelsea's betrayal, Mason's voice. "Here's what I'll agree to. You file for divorce immediately. Contest everything Chelsea tries to take. Give me full access to financial records. Make sure my grandchildren are protected. And you need to understand, you don't get to take my generosity for granted ever again. Clear? Crystal clear." Tears ran down his face. "I'll do better, Mom. I'll be the son you raised, not the man Chelsea turned me into." I wanted to believe him. Time would tell. "Rachel, what's our next move?" She smiled, sharp and predatory. "We set a trap for Chelsea. Let her think she's winning. Then we take everything." "She deserves nothing," Brandon said, voice hard. As I sat there surrounded by evidence of betrayal, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Hope, Maybe Brandon could change. Maybe we could rebuild. But first, we had to deal with Chelsea. Rachel's plan was elegant and ruthless. We'd let Chelsea think the house sale was proceeding, let her believe she was getting away with everything. Then at the last moment, we'd destroy her. But first we needed proof. Real, ironclad proof. 2 days later, Mason called at 10 p.m. His voice shook. "Grandma, something weird happened. I needed to print something for school. Mom's laptop was open. There was an email from Richard. I didn't mean to read it, but what did it say? It said, 'Can't wait until this is all over and we can finally be together. Just a few more weeks.' I've already opened the account, transferred 30,000 to our account yesterday. Everything's in place." "Grandma, what account?" "Our account. Not Brandon's account. Richard and Chelsea's secret account. $30,000 stolen from my son. Did you screenshot it?" "Yeah. Want me to forward it?" "Yes, right now." The screenshot arrived. Perfect. Digital confession. Richard Caldwell's full email address. Timestamp. Message referencing money transfers and escape plans. I forwarded it to Rachel and Brandon. Brandon called within minutes. Voice cold, flat, empty except rage. "She's stealing from us, from our kids. She's already moved 30,000. Let Rachel handle it." That night, Rachel filed an emergency motion to freeze all joint accounts and prevent asset sales. She attached Mason's screenshot, Dennis's photos, and documented Chelsea's financial misconduct. The judge granted it by noon Tuesday. Suddenly, Chelsea couldn't touch any money, couldn't access accounts, couldn't sell the house, couldn't transfer funds. She was trapped. I was having lunch when Chelsea called. "Diane, what have you done?" "I protected my son and grandchildren. You've ruined everything. I can't access accounts. The bank says there's a court order. The house sale is frozen. I stopped you from stealing from Brandon, from taking money that doesn't belong to you, from abandoning your children for Richard Caldwell." Silence. Terrified silence. "How did you—" "It doesn't matter. It's over. Your affair is documented. The stolen money is documented. The fake pregnancy is exposed. Brandon knows everything. You vindictive old hag. This is your fault. If you hadn't sent that letter, fine. Stealing money and cheating is fine. Planning to abandon your children is fine. Brandon chose me. This isn't your family anymore. The son you were planning to leave. The children you were abandoning. How dare you? How dare you come into my family, take my money, and try to destroy everything? I paid for your house, Chelsea. My money. You repaid me by trying to put me in a nursing home. You are a burden, and Brandon was finally seeing that. Brandon knows about the affair. He's seen the photos. He knows about the money. He knows you're not pregnant. He knows everything. You're lying. We met with him 2 days ago, showed him all the evidence. Brandon knows exactly who he married. I'll fight this. I'll tell the judge you're manipulating him. You tell the judge about the bitter old woman who documented 10 years of fraud and adultery. See how well that goes. Diane. Goodbye, Chelsea. I hung up. 2 weeks later, I sat in a courtroom. The judge reviewed evidence, photos, emails, financial records showing 85,000 in missing money. The judge's face was severe. "Mrs. Patterson, I've reviewed the evidence, the affair, the emails about abandoning your family, the financial theft, the fake pregnancy. I find this deeply troubling. Your Honor, my client disputes. Your client can dispute all she wants. The evidence speaks for itself. I'm granting Mr. Patterson emergency sole custody. You'll have supervised visitation only, 2 hours per week." Chelsea's face went white. "Those are my children. You should have thought about that. Furthermore, all marital assets remain frozen. And Mrs. Patterson, if you attempt to hide or transfer any funds, you'll be held in contempt. Clear?" Chelsea nodded, barely controlling rage. "One more thing. Vacate the marital home within 72 hours. Mr. Patterson and the children remain. This is non-negotiable." Outside the courthouse, Brandon turned to me. Thank you, Mom, for everything, for protecting us, for fighting, for not giving up on me when I didn't deserve it. I'm sorry for how I treated you. You're my son, that's what mothers do. I'm going to pay you back every dollar. It might take time, but I swear, I know you will. As we walked away, I smiled, because I'd won. Not just the legal battle, not just the money. I'd won my son back. I'd won my self-respect. Chelsea had tried to destroy me, but I'd destroyed her instead. Sometimes justice isn't about revenge. Sometimes it's just about making sure the truth comes out. 3 days after the court victory, Mason showed up at my door at 9 p.m., alone, crying. "Grandma, I need help." I pulled him inside. What happened? Mom's acting weird, packing things, hiding stuff in the garage, and I found more. He showed me his phone. Screenshots of text messages between Chelsea and Richard. "Meet me at the cabin this weekend. Bring the rest of the cash." How much is the rest? I've got about 47,000 ready to move. Once the divorce is final, I'll be free. 47,000, more stolen money. There's more, Grandma. He swiped. Mom told Dad she's going on a wellness retreat in California for 3 weeks, alone. She leaves tomorrow. My stomach dropped. Did your father agree? He said yes. He looked so tired, like he just gave up. Send me everything. Stay here tonight. I called Rachel immediately. Chelsea's planning to run. She told Brandon she's going to California, but texts show she's meeting Richard at a cabin. She's moving 47,000 in cash. Forward me everything. I'll file an emergency motion first thing tomorrow to restrict her travel and freeze any remaining accounts we missed. Brandon called an hour later. Mason's with you? Yes, he's safe. Good. His voice was flat, exhausted. Chelsea just left. Said she needed to pack for her trip. She took 3 suitcases for a wellness retreat. Brandon, she's not going to California. I know. Mason sent me the screenshots. I know exactly what she's doing. What are you going to do? Let her go. Let her think she's getting away with it. Rachel says if we can prove she's fleeing with marital assets, it strengthens our case even more. Are you okay? Silence. Then, no, but I will be. Thanks to you, Mom. Thanks to you, I still have my kids and a chance to rebuild. The next morning, Chelsea left for her retreat. Brandon called me after she drove away. She's gone, took most of her clothes, jewelry, everything valuable she could carry. Now we wait for her to make her next mistake. It didn't take long. That afternoon, Rachel's investigator tracked Chelsea to a cabin in the mountains, 2 hours north, registered under Richard Caldwell's name. She wasn't alone. Richard's Mercedes was parked outside. Do we confront her? I asked Rachel. Not yet. Let her settle in. Let her think she's safe. Tomorrow, we show up with the sheriff and a court order. That night, I couldn't sleep. Part of me felt vindictive satisfaction. Chelsea was finally going to face consequences. But another part felt sad for Brandon, for what he'd lost, for the years he'd wasted on someone who'd never truly loved him. Mason stayed with me. We made cookies together, something we hadn't done since he was small. He told me about school, about his friends, about how scared he'd been watching his parents' marriage fall apart. I'm glad you fought back, Grandma, he said, chocolate chips melting on his fingers. Mom was always mean to you, always making little comments about you being old or sick or in the way. I hated it. Why didn't you say something? Because I was scared. Scared she'd get mad at me too. Scared Dad would take her side. He looked at me with eyes too old for 16. But you weren't scared. You stood up for yourself. You taught me that sometimes you have to fight, even when it's family. I hugged him tight. You're going to be okay, sweetheart. All of you are going to be okay. The next morning, Rachel, Brandon, a sheriff's deputy, and I drove to the cabin. The mountain air was cold, crisp. Richard's Mercedes was still there, along with Chelsea's SUV. Brandon knocked on the door. Hard. Chelsea opened it wearing a silk robe, her face going pale when she saw all of us. "Brandon, what are you—" "We know everything, Chelsea." His voice was ice. "The cabin, Richard, the money you've been hiding. All of it." Richard appeared behind her, shirt unbuttoned. "Who the hell are you people? I'm her husband, and you're the man who's been sleeping with my wife and helping her steal from my family." The sheriff stepped forward. "Ma'am, I have a court order requiring you to return to your home county immediately and surrender any cash or assets in your possession. If you refuse, I'm authorized to arrest you for contempt of court." Chelsea's face twisted with rage. "You can't do this. This is harassment." "This is law enforcement, Mrs. Patterson." The sheriff was unmoved. "You have two choices. Come voluntarily or come in handcuffs, but you're coming." She looked at Richard. "Do something." Richard stepped back, hands up. "Hey, I don't want any trouble. This is between you and your husband." Just like that, he abandoned her. The man she'd destroyed her family for couldn't even stand beside her when it mattered. Chelsea's face crumpled. "Brandon, please. No. No more lies. No more manipulation. You're done, Chelsea. Pack your things. We're leaving." 2 hours later, we were back in the city. Chelsea had been escorted to a hotel near the courthouse, not home, not to Brandon's house, not anywhere near the children. She was required to check in daily with her attorney and couldn't leave the county. Brandon stood in his kitchen, the same kitchen where he'd handed me that mop 3 weeks ago, but everything was different now. "I'm sorry, Mom," he said quietly, "for all of it. For believing her lies about you, for treating you like you didn't matter, for taking your money and your love for granted. I know you are. How do we fix this? How do I make this right?" I looked at my son, really looked at him. He was broken, yes, but broken things can heal. Broken things can become stronger in the places they've been fractured. We start over, honest, clean, no more secrets. He nodded. No more secrets. But Chelsea had one more secret, one that would change everything. The emergency hearing was set for Monday morning. Rachel had compiled everything: the cabin escape attempt, the hidden cash, Richard's involvement, years of financial deception. Sunday night, Brandon called me. His voice was strange, tight, controlled. "Mom, can you come over? I found something bad." I drove to his house immediately. He was waiting in his home office, surrounded by papers, his laptop open. "What is it?" "I've been going through Chelsea's files. Email accounts she thought I didn't know about. Bank statements she'd hidden." He turned the laptop toward me. "Look at this. Spreadsheet, columns of numbers, dates going back 3 years, payments in, payments out. Names I didn't recognize." "Brandon, what am I looking at?" "Chelsea's been running a side business. She's been taking deposits from Brandon's real estate clients, people who wanted renovation work done. She'd tell them she could get them better rates through her connections. That they'd pay her directly, and she'd hire Richard's company to do the work. That sounds like she was just acting as a middleman, except she wasn't giving Richard all the money. She was inflating the quotes, charging clients 30% more than Richard actually bid, and pocketing the difference. Look, this client paid her $65,000 for a kitchen renovation. Richard's actual invoice was $48,000. Chelsea kept $17,000. My mouth fell open. That's fraud. It gets worse. Some of these jobs, the work was never completed properly. Richard would cut corners, use cheap materials, do shoddy work. Clients would complain to me, thinking I'd hired him. My reputation took the hit while Chelsea and Richard pocketed the extra money. He pulled up more files. I found at least 15 clients over the past 3 years. Total amount stolen, approximately $165,000. $165,000. Nearly as much as she owed me. Brandon, this isn't just divorce court territory anymore. This is criminal fraud. These are real people she stole from. I know. His jaw was set. Tomorrow morning, I'm calling every single one of these clients. I'm telling them what happened. And I'm offering to make it right, even if I have to pay them back myself. That's a lot of money. It's my company's reputation, my name. She destroyed it, but I'm going to rebuild it. Whatever it takes. I looked at my son and saw something I hadn't seen in years. Integrity. Determination. The man I'd raised before Chelsea got her hooks in him. We need to tell Rachel. Tonight. Rachel arrived within an hour. She reviewed everything, her expression getting grimmer with each page. Brandon, your mother's right. This is criminal fraud. Wire fraud, theft by deception, conspiracy. We need to involve law enforcement immediately. Will Chelsea go to jail? If the prosecutor decides to file charges, yes, very possibly. Brandon was quiet for a long moment. She's the mother of my children. She's also a criminal who stole from innocent people and destroyed your business. I know, Mason and Lily. How do I explain to them that their mother might go to prison? I touched his arm. You tell them the truth, that sometimes people make terrible choices, that actions have consequences, and that you love them enough to protect them from those consequences, even when it's hard. Monday morning, we presented everything to the judge, not just our evidence, but Brandon's compiled list of defrauded clients. The financial records, Richard Caldwell's invoices, the pattern of theft going back 3 years. Chelsea's attorney looked sick. Your Honor, we had no knowledge of these allegations because your client has been lying to everyone, including you, Rachel interrupted. We have documentation of systematic fraud, multiple victims, premeditated theft, and an attempt to flee the jurisdiction with stolen cash. The judge read through the evidence. Her face was like stone. Mrs. Patterson, I'm ordering you to surrender your passport immediately. I'm extending the asset freeze to include any and all accounts in your name or any aliases. And I'm referring this matter to the district attorney's office for criminal investigation. Chelsea's face went white. Your Honor, please, you're dismissed. Get out of my courtroom before I hold you in contempt. Outside, Brandon looked shell-shocked. It's really over. She's really going to face criminal charges. Yes. Part of me feels guilty, like I should protect her because we were married, because she's the mother of my kids. And the other part? The other part knows she deserves this. She hurt innocent people. She destroyed lives. She needs to face consequences. 3 days later, the district attorney filed charges, 15 counts of wire fraud, 3 counts of conspiracy, multiple counts of theft by deception. Chelsea was arrested at her hotel. According to the news report, she tried to run when the police showed up, making it about 20 feet in high heels before being tackled. I shouldn't have laughed, but I did. Brandon called that evening. They set bail at $500,000. Her parents can't afford it. She's being held in county jail until trial. How are the kids? Confused, angry, sad, all of it. He paused. Mason asked me today if we can go visit you this weekend. He said he wants to help you in the garden, like we used to do when he was little. My throat tightened. I'd love that. Mom, I need to ask you something. The loan, the $156,000 I owe you. I want to pay you back. But with everything happening, the clients I need to reimburse, the legal fees, keeping the house running, it's going to take time, years probably. I know. Would you consider? Could we work out a payment plan? Something structured, with actual payments this time, that won't leave me bankrupt but will get you paid back. I thought about it. About the money, about the house, about the decade of nothing. $500 a month, every month, no exceptions, no excuses, until it's paid in full. I can do that. Thank you, Mom. Thank you for not giving up on me. That's what mothers do, Brandon, even when their sons hand them mops on Thanksgiving. He laughed, but it sounded like crying. I'm so sorry. I know you are. Now let's move forward. Because that's what we did. We moved forward, even when the past tried to drag us back. Chelsea's trial was set for early February, 2 months after her arrest. In the meantime, life continued, strange and difficult and surprisingly hopeful. Brandon threw himself into damage control. He contacted every client Chelsea had defrauded, explained what happened, and worked out reimbursement plans. Some were understanding. Others threatened lawsuits. One older couple, whose retirement savings Chelsea had stolen, actually cried when Brandon showed up at their door with a check. "I worked my whole life," the husband said, hands shaking. "We just wanted a nice kitchen for our grandkids to visit." She took everything and gave us particle board cabinets that are already falling apart. Brandon spent the next 3 weekends personally renovating their kitchen. Good materials, proper work, no charge. I went with him one Saturday to bring lunch. Watching my son on his knees installing cabinet hardware, I saw something I'd missed for years. Purpose, redemption. The man he was supposed to be before Chelsea twisted him into something else. The divorce was finalized in January. Chelsea got nothing. No house, no cars, no assets. Supervised visitation only. Once she was released from jail, the judge made it clear she'd destroyed her own family through her choices. Mason and Lily spent Christmas with Brandon and me. We made cookies, watched old movies, decorated a tree. Lily cried a few times, missing her mother despite everything. Mason was quieter, angrier, trying to process how the woman who'd raised him could be capable of such cruelty. "Why did she do it?" he asked me one evening while we washed dishes. "We weren't rich, but we weren't poor. Why steal all that money?" "Some people always want more," I said quietly. "More money, more excitement, more validation. They're never satisfied with what they have." "Were you ever like that?" "No, I learned early that enough is enough, that the people you love matter more than the things you own." He was quiet for a moment. "I'm glad you're my grandma. I'm glad you're my grandson." In early February, I sat in a courtroom watching Chelsea's trial. The prosecution presented overwhelming evidence. 15 defrauded clients testified. Bank records were displayed on screens. Richard Caldwell, who'd taken a plea deal, testified against her. Chelsea's attorney tried to paint her as a victim of Brandon's controlling behavior, of my manipulation, of circumstances beyond her control. It didn't work. The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing was set for 2 weeks later. The judge gave her 42 months in federal prison. 3.5 years. Chelsea cried. Her parents cried. Her attorney promised to appeal. Brandon sat stone-faced through it all. When it was over, he turned to me. "Is it wrong that I don't feel bad?" "No, you feel relieved. There's a difference." We walked out of the courthouse together. The February air was cold but clean, a fresh start kind of cold. "What now?" Brandon asked. "Now you rebuild your business, your relationship with your kids, your life. And us, you and me?" I looked at my son. "We're already rebuilding. Every day, every honest conversation, every payment you make on that loan. We're getting back what we lost." He smiled, a real smile, the first I'd seen in months. "I made the first payment yesterday. $500. Transferred it to your account." "I know, I got the notification. 111 more payments to go, 9 years and 3 months. I'll be 77 when you make the last one. And I'll be 52. Maybe we'll go out to dinner to celebrate, someplace nice, my treat." "I'd like that." We stood on those courthouse steps for a long moment, both of us thinking about everything we'd lost and everything we'd found. The years of distance, the betrayal, the pain, and finally, the path back to each other. "Mom." "Yes?" "Thank you for not giving up on me, even when I gave you every reason to." I squeezed his hand. "That's what family does. Real family. Not the fake version Chelsea tried to create, but the real thing, messy and complicated and worth fighting for." He squeezed back. Can we go see the kids? I promised them we'd take them for ice cream after this was over. Ice cream in February? And Mason said melancholy requires ice cream, regardless of season. He's been reading a lot of poetry lately. I laughed. Then, let's go get ice cream. As we walked to the car, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Lighter. Like I'd been carrying weights I didn't realize were there until they were gone. The weight of being dismissed. Of being treated like a burden, of being told my illness was fake and my concerns were paranoia. All of it gone, lifted away by truth and justice and the simple act of standing up for myself. But there was one more revelation coming. One more piece of the puzzle that would make everything make sense. 3 weeks after Chelsea's sentencing, Richard Caldwell's attorney contacted Rachel. He wanted to make a deal. What kind of deal? Rachel asked. Information about Chelsea, about things that happened before the fraud, things that explain why she did what she did. And we met in Rachel's office. Me, Brandon, Rachel, and Richard's attorney, a sharp-looking woman named Patricia Ward. My client has information that significantly changes the context of this case, Patricia began. Information about Chelsea Patterson's activities and motivations that go back further than anyone realized. What information? Brandon asked. Patricia slid a folder across the table. Chelsea Patterson wasn't planning to leave you 2 months ago, Mr. Patterson. She was planning to leave you 3 years ago, but something changed. Brandon opened the folder. Bank statements, emails, text messages between Chelsea and someone named Marcus. Who's Marcus? Chelsea's previous affair, before Richard. It ended badly. Marcus was married, refused to leave his wife. Chelsea was devastated. That's when she started stealing. I read the documents. Emails from 3 years ago. Chelsea talking about leaving Brandon, starting fresh with Marcus, needing money to establish independence. He plans to drain accounts, sell the house, disappear. Why didn't she? I asked. Because Marcus ended it, told her he was staying with his wife. Chelsea had already started moving money, had already set up the scheme with inflated renovation quotes. But suddenly, she had nowhere to go. So she kept stealing, Brandon said slowly. Even after Marcus was gone, she just kept doing it. Yes, and then she met Richard Caldwell 2 years ago. Another married man. Another escape plan, but this time she'd perfected her methods. More money, better hiding places, a foolproof exit strategy. Patricia pulled out another document. There's more. Chelsea has been seeing a therapist for 5 years. Court-ordered, after a shoplifting arrest Mr. Patterson apparently never knew about. Brandon's head snapped up. What shoplifting arrest? 5 years ago, before you were married. Charges were dropped when she agreed to counseling and restitution. But the therapist's notes, which we obtained through the criminal discovery process, paint a picture of someone with serious issues around impulse control, narcissism, and what the therapist called an inability to accept responsibility for her actions. I felt something crack open in my understanding. She's been like this the whole time. Yes, Mrs. Patterson, your instincts 15 years ago were correct. Chelsea has always been manipulative, always been willing to lie and steal to get what she wants. You just had the misfortune of being the obstacle in her path. Brandon looked sick. I married a con artist. I brought her into our family. I let her hurt my mother, steal from my clients, destroy everything I'd built. You were a victim too, Mr. Patterson. Patricia said gently. She targeted you because you were kind, because you trusted people, because you had something she wanted. That's what people like Chelsea do. Why are you telling us this? I asked. What does Richard get out of it? Reduced sentence. He's cooperating fully with authorities, providing information about other potential fraud cases Chelsea was involved in. Cases that predate your marriage, Mr. Patterson. Other victims we're still identifying. Rachel leaned forward. How many other victims? So far, 23? Going back 8 years, total amount stolen, over $600,000. The room went silent. $600,000. Chelsea wasn't just a cheating wife or a desperate woman making bad choices. She was a career criminal, a predator. My God, Brandon whispered. Who did I marry? I reached across and took his hand. Someone who fooled all of us. Someone who was very, very good at pretending to be normal. The therapy notes mentioned something else, Patricia continued. Chelsea's childhood. Apparently, she grew up in poverty, watched her parents struggle, developed what the therapist called an obsessive need for financial security, paired with an inability to obtain it through legitimate means. She learned early that lying and manipulating were more effective than honest work. So, none of it was real, Brandon said. Our entire marriage, 15 years, all of it was just her using me. Some of it may have been real, I said quietly. The children are real. Mason and Lily. Those are real people who exist because of your marriage. Whatever else she was lying about, she did give you that. He nodded, tears streaming down his face. You're right. You're right. We left Rachel's office an hour later, with new understanding and old pain. Chelsea wasn't the woman any of us thought she was. She was worse, more calculating, more dangerous, more broken. But we'd survived her. All of us. Brandon drove me home. We sat in my driveway for a long time, neither of us ready to end the conversation. Mom, I need to tell you something. Something I should have told you months ago. What is it? That day on Thanksgiving, when I handed you the mop and said those terrible things, I knew. Deep down, I knew I was wrong. I knew you weren't faking your illness. I knew Chelsea was being cruel. I knew, and I went along with it anyway because it was easier than standing up to her. Brandon, no, let me finish. I was a coward. I chose the easy path instead of the right one. I chose keeping peace with my wife over protecting my mother. And I will regret that for the rest of my life. You were being manipulated. I was being a coward. There's a difference. Plenty of people get manipulated without becoming cruel. I made choices, Mom, bad choices, and I own that. I looked at my son, really looked at him, at the pain in his eyes, the regret, the determination to be better. You're owning it now. That's what matters. Is it enough? Will it ever be enough? It's a start. And starts are important. He smiled sadly. When did you get so wise? When I spent 3 weeks being angry enough to see clearly. Anger's not always bad, Brandon. Sometimes it burns away the fog and shows you the truth. I'm glad you got angry. I'm glad you fought back. If you hadn't, Chelsea would have won. She'd have isolated me completely, stolen everything, destroyed everyone. You saved us, Mom. We saved each other. You chose to wake up. That was your choice. I just gave you the push. He hugged me tight. I love you, Mom. I love you too, sweetheart. Now go home to your kids. They need their father. As I watched him drive away, I felt something settle in my chest. Peace. Real, genuine peace. Chelsea was in prison. The truth was out. My family was healing. And I was exactly where I'd fought so hard to be. Free. 6 months later, I stood in my garden on a warm August morning, hands in the dirt, pulling weeds from around my tomato plants. My hands ached. The fibromyalgia never really goes away, but it was a manageable ache, a livable ache. Grandma, we brought bagels. I turned to see Mason and Lily coming through the gate, bags from the bakery in hand. Brandon followed, carrying a cooler. You're early, I said, smiling. Couldn't sleep, Mason admitted. Too excited about the game today. Mason had made the varsity baseball team. Today was his first start. The whole family was going to watch. Let me wash up and we'll eat. We sat on my back patio, the one Brandon had repaired last month, replacing rotted boards and adding a fresh coat of stain. The one he'd insisted on fixing himself, refusing to hire anyone. "How's business?" I asked him while Lily told me about her art class. "Good. Really good, actually. I got 3 new clients this week. All referrals from the people I made things right with. Turns out integrity is good for business. Imagine that." He grinned. "I know, right? Crazy concept." His phone chimed. He glanced at it and showed me the screen. "Bank transfer notification. $500 to my account. Payment number 7. 104 to go," he said. 9 years. "I'll be there every month, no matter what." And I believed him because in 6 months he'd never missed a payment, never been late. Never made excuses. "How's therapy?" I asked quietly, while the kids debated whether chocolate chip or blueberry bagels were superior. "Hard." "Good. Sometimes both at the same time?" He pulled at the label on his water bottle. "Dr. Morrison says I have a lot of work to do on boundaries and recognizing manipulation. Apparently, I'm pathologically eager to please, and Chelsea exploited that for 15 years. Are you okay with all of that?" "I'm getting there. It's weird, looking back at my marriage and realizing I was basically in an abusive relationship. I always thought abuse was physical, you know. Didn't realize emotional manipulation and financial control counted too. You're learning. That's what matters. Mason's in therapy too. Lily starts next week. Dr. Morrison says they need help processing what happened with their mom. How are they doing with that?" Brandon looked at his kids, both laughing over some inside joke. "Better than I expected. They visited Chelsea in prison last month. It didn't go well. She spent the whole hour blaming everyone else for her situation. Blamed me, blamed you, blamed Richard, blamed the judge. Never once took responsibility." "I'm sorry." "Don't be." Mason told her flat out that what she did was wrong and he was ashamed of her. Lily barely said anything, just sat there crying. Chelsea didn't even seem to notice. Will they go back? Not for a while. Maybe not ever. That's their choice. I'm not going to force them to maintain a relationship with someone who hurt them. Lily looked over. "What are you guys talking about?" "Adult stuff," Brandon said lightly. "How's that bagel? Chocolate chip is superior, and Grandma agrees with me. Right, Grandma?" I respectfully declined to enter this debate. Mason groaned. "Switzerland. Grandma's pulling Switzerland." We laughed, and it felt good, normal, like a real family instead of the fractured, dysfunctional thing Chelsea had created. After breakfast, we loaded into Brandon's car and drove to the baseball field. The stands were packed with parents and students. We found seats near the third baseline, perfect view of Mason at shortstop. The game was close. Tied going into the 7th inning. Mason had made 2 good plays in the field and gotten a single his first time up. Bottom of the 7th, bases loaded, 2 outs. Mason stepped up to bat. Lily grabbed my hand. "I can't watch. He'll be fine." First pitch, ball, second pitch, strike, third pitch, foul, full count. The pitcher wound up. The ball flew toward the plate. Mason swung. The crack of the bat was beautiful. The ball soared into left field, over the outfielder's head, rolling to the fence. 2 runs scored. Mason rounded first, heading for second. The third base coach waved him on. He slid into third just as the throw came in. Safe. The crowd erupted. Lily jumped up, screaming. Brandon was on his feet, yelling so loud I thought he'd lose his voice. And I sat there, watching my grandson stand on third base, grinning ear to ear, and felt something swell in my chest. Joy. Pure, uncomplicated joy. This was worth fighting for. This moment, this family, this life. After the game, which they won 5-3, we took Mason out for pizza. He couldn't stop talking about the triple, replaying every moment. "Did you see Coach's face? He was yelling, 'Go, go!' And I was like, 'I'm going!' We laughed and ate too much pizza and stayed until the restaurant started closing. On the drive home, Lily fell asleep on my shoulder. Brandon caught my eye in the rearview mirror. "Thank you," he mouthed. I nodded, no words needed. When Brandon dropped me off at home, he walked me to the door. The August night was warm, cicadas singing in the trees. "You know what I realized today?" he said. "What?" "I'm happy. For the first time in years, maybe decades, I'm actually happy. The business is growing, the kids are healthy, I'm rebuilding my life, and my mom is back in my life for real. Not just obligatory visits, real relationship." "I'm happy too," I admitted. "Despite everything. Or maybe because of everything. Sometimes you need the bad to appreciate the good." "Very philosophical, Mom. I contain multitudes." He laughed and hugged me good night. "See you Sunday? I'm making pot roast. I'll bring dessert." Inside my quiet house, I made tea and sat at my kitchen table. The same table where Brandon had asked me for money a decade ago. The same table where I'd plotted my legal revenge after Thanksgiving. The same table where I'd cried and raged and finally found my strength. My phone buzzed. Text from Joyce. "How was the game?" "Mason got a triple. We won." "Perfect. Brunch tomorrow? My place? I'll bring fruit." I set down my phone and sipped my tea. Tomorrow, brunch with Joyce. Sunday, dinner with Brandon and the kids. Next week, Mason had another game. The week after, Lily's art show. Life, real, messy, beautiful life. Not the perfect family I'd once imagined, but the family we'd become through fire and failure and fighting our way back to each other. I raised my mug in a silent toast to survival, to strength, to 68 years of refusing to quit. To women who clean up broken glass and then break free. To mothers who love their sons enough to hold them accountable. To grandmothers who teach their grandchildren that kindness doesn't mean being a doormat. To me, Diane Patterson, widow, mother, fighter, survivor. To me,